Hey, Dave. It's me, your good buddy Abyss. Funny, I haven't heard from you in a while. Seems you have a big decision to make. Saturday, December 5th at Blizzard Brawl, it's you and me, but I haven't heard if you've accepted my stipulations yet. Number one, it's Monsters Ball, anything goes, I can do whatever I want. Number two, you putting everything on the line. Your stake in Great Lakes Championship Wrestling, your involvement in this business. If I beat you on December 5th, you walk away. I haven't heard your answer yet, Dave. I'm starting to smell chicken. It's up to you, Dave. What's the answer? Are you going to defend you and Cal and Great Lakes Championship honor or not? I can't wait to hear.
The Pro Wrestling Report is back with a huge Hell in a Cell edition. Tonight, we bring you all the latest from WWE and TNA, and also, will David Hero answer the challenge of Abyss to a match at Blizzard Brawl? Why WWE had a hard miss this past Monday on Raw. TNA is without a champion right now, and we have a major announcement about the future of this very program that you certainly don't want to miss. So sit back, relax, and get ready for a full hour of the longest running wrestling talk show in the world right here, right now on My 24 Milwaukee.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report, PrimeTime TV, the longest running pro wrestling news program in the world, with your hosts, David Hero and Damian Nelson.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Saturday night for Saturday, October 24th, 2015. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Octavius Tiberius, the alleged backyard, one-time knockout, straight-edge, hardcore, goat face, Hall of Famer Hero. David, how have you been this October?
You know, October's been tremendous.
Has it been Rocktober for you?
It has been. It's been Fright Festivus. Is that something?
Festivus for the rest of us.
Yes. And I see
I got a lot of problems with you people.
With us people.
People out there watching will get the reference.
Oh, okay. Hey, I got the memo on the shirt and the tie. That worked.
Actually, clearly you didn't get the memo on the shirt and the tie because you're not wearing a shirt and a tie.
I thought you said you wanted me to wear something that would match your tie.
Absolutely not. I don't want to look anything like you, and I know how beneficial you would see that to you looking anything like me. But let's keep it
Keep it real?
Keep it real here. Folks, let's get right to this week's big show this week, David Hero.
It's ridiculous. There's
Linda's here. We got all kinds of announcements and things to share, and I can't even. Can we tease anything about your big announcement regarding Blizzard Brawl? You have a decision this week, correct? You have a decision,
yes.
And you've been up to something. I don't know what, but you brought some footage here. I haven't seen it yet. We're going to see that later regarding this decision about your challenge from Abyss at Blizzard Brawl.
It's been a very trying last 6, 7, 8, almost 10 months because of you and Abyss and everything that's been going on since then.
My dear close personal friend Abyss.
He is the guy that ramrodded you.
You know what? Here's the thing. I sacrifice for the greater good. And that was a mere sacrifice. Riding out of here in an ambulance was a sacrifice for the greater
Bell ambulance.
good.
Let's get that straight.
It did say Bell on the side.
Yes, it did.
They did take me for a ride.
Yes.
Anyways, folks, let's get to this week's WWE report. And wow, this past Monday night's Raw, David Hero was, in a word, weak. I'm not talking about the performances in the ring, and there were some standouts on Raw this past Monday night, but what became vividly clear to me this past Monday night was WWE's dependence on veterans for cheap pops, if you will, is a flawed strategy. The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, and Stone Cold Steve Austin were a part of the show. In the first 8 minutes of Raw, quite frankly, you had Stone Cold, The Undertaker, and Brock Lesnar, along with Paul Heyman, of course, on the screen. Yet, to me, nothing felt special about it.
Austin is always a special.
4 years since
4
Austin's
years,
been on Raw.
But it just goes to, keep the first 8 minutes, but the first 20 minutes, then you got the Dudley Boys and John Cena, right? So
was that the WWE Rewind, or was that?
It just shows you how thin the roster is and how much more work is needed to create stars.
But they've created stars. New Day, Seth Rollins, Bray Wyatt, the Wyatts, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose. They've created stars.
The only stars. I don't know if Seth Rollins is truly a star on Raw right now.
1 month ago, you said Seth Rollins was one of the best in the business and was a bigger star than John Cena, I believe.
No. Pump the brakes. You said we compared
Can't do that. They're anti-lock.
And Seth Rollins.
That was the comparison,
now,
yes.
The only true must-see TV stars on Monday Night Raw?
Stardust, The Miz.
They're on TV.
Dolph Ziggler.
I said on TV right now is the New Day. Because they invoke emotion out of the audience. You either boo them or you cheer them, and there's a lot more cheers than boos, and that's even with them working with the Dudley Boys.
All right, let's back up a little bit. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yes.
All right, and obviously,
greatest of all time.
And obviously tomorrow night, a special event, pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it, from WWE. It's Hell in a Cell, The Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar in the Hell in a Cell structure. That's a big match. That's a huge matchup, David Hero. But even with Austin coming out and welcoming us to Raw, and then introducing The Undertaker, and then going into The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar promo, The Undertaker seemed off, Austin seemed a bit off. It seems like when these people come in nowadays, they're not even motivated to do what they have been tasked to do aside from wrestling in their contests.
And here's why. When Steve Austin was the absolute biggest draw in the history of professional wrestling.
What?
Steve Austin would go out there, walk to the ring, do the big beer bash toast, and he'd cut his promos.
What?
Now, everything he has is scripted.
What?
He has to follow a script, a run sheet. And it's not organic. It's not the organic Steve Austin. We can go out there, arrive, raise hell, and leave.
Let me ask you this. So we've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of veterans in this business, a lot of the people sort of like Stone Cold Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels and the Ric Flairs of the world. They have never agreed with that philosophy of, here's your script, here's what you need to say. They want to go out there and wing it. So do you think they're shutting down to a degree because they are being given these talking points, these scripts, if you will, which really isn't vastly different?
It's one thing to have talking points, things you got to hit on, that the message that they want the audience to get. But when everything is from A to the Z written out for you, it's hard for it to make it your own.
Because you got to remember it, and you're playing a role, not performing as yourself.
If Steve Austin goes out there and says Undertaker is one of the biggest badasses he ever was in the ring with, he didn't do that.
But
he didn't talk about that.
Did you feel it when Austin was in the ring? Did you feel that he wanted to be there? Did you feel that was Stone Cold Steve Austin?
When the glass broke, yes. When he got in the ring, he was Austin Light.
L-I-T or L-I-G-H-T?
Whatever. Yeah. And it wasn't the Stone Cold Steve Austin that sold tons of merchandise, that sold out buildings in 30 minutes. It was a controlled version of him.
We are a number of years removed from those days, though. And WrestleMania 30, when Austin got in the ring with Hogan and The Rock, he was great.
But here's the difference. When The Rock comes out, it's magic. It's electric. And he still seems to be The Rock. But it just seems like they had Austin and Shawn Michaels on a leash.
And let's move on to Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, I thought, was horribly bad on Raw this past Monday night. It got good once he started telling Rollins about how he's no version 2, he was version 1, blah, 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 blah. But leading up to that, he's taking the kids' pizza on the way to the ring. Okay, funny, I guess. But, I mean, this is WWE. This is the big league. This is a guy coming out in a T-shirt and jeans and boots and a ball cap, and he's a legend, but he didn't seem like he really wanted to be there.
Because he probably didn't want to be there, but you're missing the whole thing about...
You think Shawn Michaels actually knew who Seth Rollins was?
Yes, I'm sure.
Like, knew the storyline, knew everything, knew that he was going into a match with Kane tomorrow night?
Maybe not all of it, but the real piece of business that was being done on Monday Night Raw was to get tons of buzz in Dallas for WrestleMania. Because they're not going back there until WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, they're going up against Monday Night Football and Major League Baseball's playoffs.
Go Cubs!
So they needed to do something to create buzz and excitement to keep that audience tuned in. And when you start off a show with Steve Austin, followed directly by The Undertaker, people aren't going to change the channel right away.
Brock Lesnar as well.
So... that was the real bit of business, and man, they are trying so hard to sell this pay-per-view tomorrow night.
They're trying too hard to sell this pay-per-view
If
tomorrow
Brock
night.
Lesnar versus Undertaker to Hell in a Cell can't sell it alone, and you need to bring out Austin and Flair and Shawn Michaels to sell the Hell in a Cell, as opposed to trying to make people believe that Kane and Seth Rollins is the main event, that's where there's a disconnect.
But they've painted themselves into a bit of a corner with this network and what they have to do with this network. And quite frankly,
that
coming
is the
up,
business model.
coming up next this upcoming Friday on a special edition of Feedback Friday, hashtag Feedback Friday, we're going to talk about just that, David Hero, the WWE Network impact on the WWE business and why it actually isn't doing as good as they may want you to think it is for the overall presentation of the product. We'll talk about that Friday at PWRshow.com with a special edition of our online show, Feedback Friday. But folks, the WWE news continues. We're going to take a brief time out. But you know, it's a big show this week, David, here. We talked about that. And we've got a special guest here replacing Linda.
Really?
Yes.
She's going to be shoot hot about that. She doesn't like these, surprises on her.
She doesn't like these surprises on her, but she is going to take us into break. And during this timeout, folks, you're going to hear about the next venture from the Pro Wrestling Report, PWR Now.
Coming up next on PWR Primetime, Damian gives you his perspective on the NXT Live event experience, talk and discussion on the current happenings in TNA, including why they are currently without a champion. This month's DWHS, hot news, and be the booker for tomorrow's Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Primetime returns in just a few moments. First, Damian mentioned a huge announcement about the future of PWR earlier, so without further ado, here it goes.
Watched on YouTube over 14 million times. Listened online over 3 million times. On the air for nearly 20 years. The most respected name in pro wrestling talk. The Pro Wrestling Report evolves again. Introducing the PWR Now Network. Get all the content from PWR in one place, on demand and on your devices. Watch and listen to Primetime, Feedback Friday, Be the Booker, and the return of the DD Podcast. Also get the episodes of PWR Reaction after Raw and NXT. But it doesn't stop there. PWR is bringing you 2 huge new podcasts that can only be found on the PWR Now Network. For over 40 years, he's been the most recognized voice in the history of pro wrestling and the man with the stories that are too hot for TV. And now he's bringing that signature voice to the podcast world, along with some of the biggest names in the business. Welcome to the Hotline with Mean Gene Okerlund, debuting on the PWR Now Network in November. He is a former champion in WWE, ECW, and is currently one of the head agents for Impact Wrestling. Wait a minute. Did someone say head?
Does everybody want?
Welcome to Head with Al Snow, debuting on the PWR Now Network in November as well. All of this and more exclusively on the PWR Now Network. Subscribe now on iTunes, Google Play, and PWRshow.com. It's totally 100% free to subscribe. Welcome to the all-new PWR Now Network.
Don't miss your chance to catch the best pro wrestling on the planet. Ring of Honor Wrestling returns to Milwaukee at the Turner Hall Ballroom Friday, November 13th at 7:30 p.m. with appearances by ROH World Champion Jay Lethal, the phenomenal AJ Styles, the Young Bucks, Matt Sydal, and many more. Experience body slamming, super kicking, pro wrestling action live. Visit ROHWrestling.com now for tickets and info.
Welcome back, folks, to the Pro Wrestling Report, primetime Saturday night here on My 24 Milwaukee and David Hero. Wow, Wonder Woman, our special guest here in studio.
What a freaking...
Did you see the plane parked outside?
It's invisible. How
That's
can
what I was
you-
asking, because I heard she
No.
came in a plane. I didn't see it.
No.
Like, it's legit invisible.
Yes.
Does it have a landing strip? Like, that is a special landing strip that it lands
That's
on?
a private thing with Wonder Woman. I have no idea.
Mean Gene Okerlund, your dear friend Al
Yes.
Snow, coming to the PWR Now Network, in addition to all the PWR products on podcast form. It's all free,
It's
David
a
Hero.
lot of shenanigans and holy ballses, is what I.
It absolutely is, and big news. coming out of the PWR group. Us, quite frankly, me and Gene Okerlund, what a privilege and honor it is to be working with such a legend in this business in the podcast world. Who would have thought? Who'd have thunk it, as they say.
Not me.
But let's continue on, folks. More about PWR now as the episode progresses. But let's move on and continue talking about WWE and some injuries coming out, or at least one injury coming out of WWE recently, and that of the Viper, Randy Orton. He apparently suffered a shoulder injury, which led to his TV write-off, if you will, and will apparently possibly need surgery on said shoulder. Now, Randy Orton, a beast in the professional wrestling world and one of the top stars in WWE, no doubt, but
is he really? I mean, he is a star. He's a main event guy.
He absolutely is.
But I mean, when it's all said and done, is he really number 2 behind Cena? If you really think about it.
Who is?
I mean, Orton is. He's there and he's not there, and yeah, people love him, and he's the Viper and RKO out of nowhere, the whole thing. But I think, and he will have a Hall of Fame career when it's all said and done. But it's like John Cena is number 1, and then Randy Orton is a distant number 2.
Who's number 2?
I'm saying Randy Orton's a distant number 2.
Okay. So he is number 2 behind John Cena.
But he's really like number 5, but he's number 2. That's how far.
You're putting Ziggler and Rhodes in there?
No. I mean, you could almost put Batista ahead of him, of Randy Orton.
He doesn't wrestle for WWE anymore.
But I'm saying from the Cena era, when it was Cena, Orton, Brock Lesnar, Batista, when all those guys came up at the same time together.
You know what I do think needs to be said about a Randy Orton, and we've talked many a time on the 20 years we've been on this program about Randy Orton and his challenges, and I think he's up to the 3rd strike and he's out, by the way. But I don't know if you got a chance to check it out on the WWE Network. It was a show called, I think, Unfiltered or something, with him talking about his wife and his family and how he's been grounded. And really, Randy Orton he has grown so much as a man, grown so much as a Viper, if you will, that it's really admirable from where he was to where he is right now, and really being one of the mainstays in WWE, and one of the guys the company can, aside from injury or whatever else is going on, lean on to deliver.
Right, but
there may not be many better in the ring than Randy Orton.
No, but I don't think he's the guy that you can really hitch the wagon to.
I think with the right story, perhaps you can. Does Randy need to be heel again, bad guy?
You know what?
Is he better that way?
I don't think it makes a difference because he's the same guy, heel or babyface. It doesn't change where he's at.
So here's the question then. You say Randy Orton may be a distant number 2. We don't know how long he may, if any time, be out for the shoulder injury. But we do know that apparently John Cena is taking some time off from WWE after tomorrow's Hell in a Cell event. There are rumors that he is going to be starring in and taping a Fox reality show that will be taking him away from his time in WWE. The facts that we do know are John Cena is no longer being advertised for most, if not all, live events through December of this year. And without John Cena on the WWE product, and especially on the live events, and keep in mind they've been running a Cena tour and a Roman Reigns tour as of late, what does that do for WWE's business? Can they afford to lose John Cena right now?
If they were going to have Cena take time off, it has to be right now. Because now, now that you're competing against football and everything else, ratings will be down anyhow. As long as Cena's back in time for the Royal Rumble to WrestleMania push, they should be good. And this now gives so many guys opportunity to grab that, como se dice, brass ring they talk about. And it's a huge moment for the Roman Reigns, the Ambrose, the Bray Wyatts, the Dolph Zigglers, the Rusevs, even Sheamus. Okay, Wade
still got to cash in that briefcase, does Sheamus?
Now those guys have opportunity to elevate.
Does this actually do better for WWE if Cena is gone until January?
It does, because for every one of those fans out there that tweets Cena sucks, that Facebook status how Cena wins re-riot, now that the golden goose is going to be gone, let's see how the product goes.
It should be interesting for the United States Championship tomorrow night at Hell in a Cell. But let's also not forget that John Cena hasn't been WWE World Champion in nearly 2 years, I believe.
He doesn't need it.
Exactly, but to the point of all those, Cena sucks, Cena's, Superman, blah, 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 blah. John Cena is the rock of that company right now. No pun intended there. John Cena is the rock of that company. So the fact that he has not been depended upon to hold the championship while being that rock of the company, I think shows you just how great he is.
He is still the #1 guy in that company. The belt is a prop as far as I'm concerned.
Do you know, some people have questioned whether or not John Cena should be called the hardest working man in WWE, if not all of wrestling, even with the knowledge of the fact that he's on the live events, he's on Raw every week, sometimes SmackDown. He is appearing and doing all kinds of publicity work for WWE, doing Make-A-Wishes and all that stuff. In the 10-year career of John Cena on top of WWE, I think if you look back over the time of that 10 years, you would see that there's got to be less than 12 months that John Cena wasn't around or wasn't working his tail off. Whether he's doing this Fox reality show or not, John Cena certainly does deserve a couple of months off.
Absolutely. And again, everyone that knocked him, they are going to miss him. When he comes back, it will mean a ton.
Careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. And what a lot of people have been asking for was a big debut just this past Thursday night on SmackDown, which, as you know, is moving to the USA Network come January.
Yes, how about that?
Tyler Breeze from NXT fame debuted on SmackDown with his selfie stick in hand this past Thursday night. Tyler Breeze, some could say that he is likened or could be likened to a Dolph Ziggler, if you will, not just in look, but in gimmick, if you will. But a solid performer is Tyler Breeze. I had the privilege of seeing him live at NXT TakeOver. Respect.
Oh, you were down there.
I was down there at Full Sail
University.
University.
Big Sexy. You guys went as a date or what?
I did spend some time with Kevin Nash at that show and watched a match with him, and it was a very, 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 very good experience, David Hero. NXT is a thing now, folks, and I think you've realized that. And it was a thing before they drew 16.
It's the #2 wrestling company in the country.
It was a thing before they drew 16,000 people in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. But it's a bigger thing now. Quite frankly, that's why as part of the PWR Now network, we're going to be doing the NXT reaction shows as opposed to the TNA Impact Wrestling reaction shows, because quite frankly, it's got more buzz than TNA Impact Wrestling does right now. There's no knock to TNA. That's just the reality and what you all have done as fans. But take over respect. The Iron Man match between Sasha Banks and Bayley was absolutely fantastic. And as was stated by WWE, the first time a female matchup was on top of a special event.
And the reason why that match was so great is because it invoked emotion.
It did invoke emotion.
Lots of
Not just with the 8-year-old girl that they've been talking about, Bayley's #1 fan, who I also had the privilege of meeting. The match was fantastic. It's a very intimate crowd. It's a very intimate crowd in Full Sail University.
An intimate crowd, an 8-year-old girl.
Here's the thing.
Extremely awkward.
Here's the thing. Full Sail University, where apparently WWE only has an agreement to be at through December of this year, so that could explain more of their road work that they're doing. But Full Sail University is a smaller building, it felt to me, than the Impact Zone in Universal Studios, also in Orlando, Florida. Yet, when you watch NXT, and granted, WWE is big dog, top game, they know what they're doing, they know how to do production. When you watch NXT, you feel like they're in the NXT arena, not a soundstage, as opposed to when you watch Impact Wrestling. But the biggest difference, the fans in attendance. They have done a single thing that is critical to the success of a broadcast show in wrestling that TNA Impact Wrestling rarely has the opportunity for people to do. We'll talk about Bound for Glory in just a minute, by the way. And that is they buy a ticket to go to NXT.
And because they want to be there.
And they are then invested in the product. They have their fans. The storylines are consistent. They tape episodes in succession, not just a bunch of matches, and then throw them out over the course of the next 6 months. Again, it's what TNA has to do right now. So I'm not knocking them because I think they're being as successful as they can be with it. But the NXT experience, especially finally getting the chance to see Finn Balor perform in person and to see his entrance, which quite frankly, I do have a grievance to air. And that grievance is this, David Hero. Finn Balor's entrance.
Were you scared? You get nervous?
No, he had the Balor Club entrance, not the Finn Balor entrance. He was not a demon.
Okay.
He was a Balor Club member.
They need that because they won't give him 7 minutes on Raw.
They need to give him 7 minutes on Raw. He is a great performer. He is a great wrestler. He is incredibly talented. I was surprised to find out he's actually smaller than me, though. But he's got muscles in places I didn't even know I had places. Justin LaBar was there with me at NXT.
How do you go from muscles to Justin LaBar?
He said that Jerry Lawler line when we were talking about Finn Balor, when I said, wow, he's actually smaller than I thought.
You're jacked, bro.
No. Finn Balor is a much better physical specimen than I will ever be. But his entrance is, Al Snow's talked about the A, B, and C.
Yes.
And A is what?
Going to the ring.
It's very important.
Yes.
Whether they give him 7 minutes or not. His entrance is probably no longer the Boogeyman's entrance was in WWE. So they need to give him that because when introduced to the global audience that is WWE, he needs that appearance. He needs that arrival, if you will, in my opinion. However, him and Samoa Joe winning the Dusty Rhodes tournament, tag team tournament, was also very impressive. A good night, a good time at NXT in Orlando, Florida. And folks, you'll have the chance over the course of the next few months or years to see NXT live. And I hope, and we talked about this in this program, I hope that NXT continues to be its own thing under the WWE umbrella versus being forced to grow too big too fast and outgrowing itself.
No, I'm pretty positive that Triple H is going to keep that very well in place.
Hopefully, and that's this week's WWE Report, folks. Let's now go in to talk about TNA Impact Wrestling. And, last month we told you about Destination America, the update, Dixie Carter telling Sports Illustrated that they would be on the air through the end of 2016. Well, TNA has just signed a new TV deal with India. They're doing very well internationally, folks.
What channel is that?
Well, David Hero, if you're in India, I'm sure it is a channel option. However, here in the States, since it's not India, I don't believe you'll be able to see that.
Okay.
You can get one of those big satellite dishes for your backyard. Remember when you used to have to do that?
Yes.
But anyway, still not bad, TNA getting TV clearances across the globe. But what about here in the United States? It's still an open-ended issue and an unanswered question.
They're in trouble. They really are. I mean, they don't have anything after the end of the year.
Let's summarize it. What's TNA's main revenue stream right now?
Overseas tours.
No. It's their television rights deal.
Well, no, but the majority of the money they make is when they go do the UK tour.
That's the only time they make money
India
on tour.
But how much?
Because those are what shows?
Bought shows.
Bound for Glory. A couple of weeks ago on pay-per-view, you were buyer number 3 of 924. What did you think of Bound for Glory overall, where a TNA champion was crowned in Matt Hardy?
Those guys worked really hard.
They absolutely did. They worked their asses off.
And I wish more people could have seen Bound for Glory because it was, with the exception of a few kabuki-ish things.
The Great Kabuki wrestled?
Yes. It was a very solid show. Those guys, Bobby Roode and Bobby Lashley had a great match. The three-way was solid with EC3 and Matt Hardy and Drew McIntyre. The Gauntlet featured our good close personal friend Al Snow was in that. That was weird because they had some dancing involved, which they didn't need. But the guys, I got the feeling that a lot of those guys were doing their audition tape for NXT. That they wanted to have a great match, they wanted to be impressive, they wanted to look the part, because let's face it, NXT has signed James Storm.
James Storm debuted this past week on NXT.
Yes, and that was a shock for a lot of people.
They, of course, didn't mention, though, on the NXT this past week, any of his time in TNA, which is all of his time in wrestling.
Right. And it's just like, guys like EC3 and Bobby Roode, and, they'll be knocking on that door pretty soon.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, David Hero, and this is not necessarily a fair question, but as a broadcast journalist, I feel it is my right to, my obligation to ask you. Mm-hmm. WWE obviously views TNA as irrelevant and non-existent.
Yes.
Is TNA irrelevant?
Right now, absolutely. Just because, here's why. Because they're on a network that isn't easily found.
But they're on national TV.
In select markets.
No, they're on national TV in most markets. Destination America has more clearance than people know because it is such a remote network.
It's a remote network, and sometimes you have to pay for the upgrade for your cable to get that channel.
That is true.
Okay. So because it's not easy to find and people can't see it, that's what makes them irrelevant. But they have amazing talents that, if given an opportunity in NXT, would be main stars.
Bound for Glory overall, was it worth the, what was it, $4.99?
Yes. It was, I think, $35. It was.
How did it feel pushing that button, that buy button, that interactive button on your remote control to purchase that pay-per-view?
The funniest thing is I'm sitting there, ordering it, and I'm hitting buy, and a screen pops up. Are you sure? Yes. Screen pops again. Are you sure? Yes. 4 times the box asked me if I was sure I want to order this pay-per-view.
So 4 times you decided, yes, I'm going to spend $35 on this TNA Bound for Glory pay-per-view to watch the boys perform.
Yeah, but I wanted to support my friends.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because
you did the right thing as a wrestling fan. Absolutely you did. You did the right thing as a wrestling fan.
And let's face it, with Blizzard Brawl, you're going to see Al Snow, you're going to see Tommy Dreamer, you're going to see Abyss, you're going to see some of the guys that were on Bound for Glory at that show. And I wanted to support them because they, support what we do. They're all part of the whole, Super Friends and Pro Wrestling Report Alliance. And, it's, I want them to succeed.
That's this week's TNA Impact Wrestling Report.
Coming up next on PWR Primetime, hot news from the wrestling business. We find out if David will accept the challenge of Abyss for Blizzard Brawl. Hot news and be the booker for tomorrow's WWE Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Primetime returns in just a few moments.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, the insurance company may try to stop you from getting what's fair.
After my car wreck, the insurance company just wasn't helping me, so I said stop, and I called Gruber Law Offices.
Be careful. Call us right away.
They better be careful. Now I've got Gruber Law Offices.
Call us. Let us get started on your case right now.
They put the green light on my case and got me $65,000.
Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all. Call 276-6666.
Don't miss your chance to catch the best pro wrestling on the planet. Ring of Honor Wrestling returns to Milwaukee at the Turner Hall Ballroom Friday, November 13th at 7:30 p.m. with appearances by ROH World Champion Jay Lethal, the phenomenal AJ Styles, the Young Bucks, Matt Sydal, and many more. Experience body slamming, super kicking, pro wrestling action live. Visit ROHWrestling.com now for tickets and info.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, prime time Saturday night. Damian Nelson sitting here alongside David Hero on October 24, 2015. Halloween is upon us, David Hero.
It is. It's all about...
Is that why Wonder Woman's here?
No. Because it's not a slutty Wonder Woman costume.
I'm sorry?
It's a good girl costume.
I'm not sure how you got to where you just got.
Wasn't that what...
I asked you if that was why Wonder Woman was here, and you said it's not a quote-unquote what you said, Wonder Woman costume.
Well, that's what most of them are.
I've only seen one type of Wonder Woman costume. Have you seen other versions?
I've seen several.
In live and in person, or on videos online?
Both.
PWR now.
Yes. I'm excited.
The WD podcast returns, David Hero.
You know what? People have been asking about that.
Have they?
They miss the shenanigans.
They miss me. Absolutely. It's returning along with, as was said, podcast from Mean Gene Okerlund. Al Snow. Primetime will be in podcast version as well. Feedback Friday in podcast version.
We're still negotiating other contracts with others we can announce next time we're here.
We could. It will grow.
Oh, my God.
And how much is it to get it on your device, on your iPhone or your Android phone or your iPad or your computer?
Well,
how much does it cost?
Have we figured that out yet?
Yeah. Free.
What?
Free.
Wait a minute.
$0.
So you can get a podcast with Gene Okerlund.
The hotline.
The hotline. You're going to get Head and Al Snow. Our Double D podcast.
Reaction, live shows right after Raw and NXT every week. By the way, we're going to be appearing on the NXT reaction show over the course of the next few weeks as well. Guest hosts, if you will, with
Really?
Meathead and Matthew. Yeah.
Who?
All of that will be available at PWRshow.com as well, free of charge. PWR Now
Matthew.
Network.
Who's the other dude?
And now let's go to this week's hot news. And big news coming out of WWE and ESPN as they and SportsCenter, WWE and SportsCenter, has announced a partnership, which is going to start with Hell in a Cell tomorrow, David Hero. We saw the coach at, I believe it was SummerSlam, Jonathan Coachman,
Yes.
at SummerSlam covering the event on ESPN television, the Entertainment Sports Programming Network.
It's amazing to me that ESPN would do this.
ESPN is the top brand in cable, period, and one of the top brands in the world. And they have,
Even though
before
they just fired 300 people this past week.
They have before covered WWE events in snippets when big things happened when wrestling was more mainstream. However, they have not in a long time. And Jonathan Coachman, along with Todd Grisham, now being on-air talents with ESPN, obviously played a key role in this partnership. It's, as I said, the Entertainment Sports Programming Network. It seems to make a ton of sense for them to cover World Wrestling Entertainment.
There's a lot of backlash by the sports fans that don't want John Cena and Seth Rollins on ESPN.
It's a huge risk for ESPN. However, how many more viewers can they attain by having this partnership is the question that need to be answered, and I don't know the answer to that. Obviously, it's a business decision before anything else.
It just shows you, as everyone that has criticized Triple H and Stephanie McMahon and saying that Triple H has ruined the business or he's all about putting himself over, look at what they've done in the last couple years.
Yeah. From a business standpoint.
They brought back Bruno Sammartino.
Yep. Which was all Triple H.
They brought back the Ultimate Warrior.
Yep.
Okay. They started NXT.
Yep.
Okay. Now they're on ESPN. They got the network up and running.
Mm-hmm.
It's just.
Now they need to get their in-ring product up and running.
Well, that they need help with. They do. And eventually that will get there.
Well, that's this week's hot news, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's throw it on over to David Hero with this week's DWHS, which, in case you have not been paying attention, stands for David Hero Has Spoken.
Monday Night Raw was live from Dallas, the home of WrestleMania 32, and the stars were big and bright deep in the heart of Texas. Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, Ric Flair, the Dudleys, and John Cena were all there, but that was not the biggest story on Monday night. Brock Lesnar was the guest on Steve Austin's podcast after Raw went off the air, and it was awkwardly tremendous. Lesnar was open and honest, almost too honest, and I'm sure Vinnie Mac in the office could not have been too pleased. Brock Lesnar is his own man. He marches to the own beats from his own drum. He knows he's a star, an asset, and is not afraid to tell anyone. He agrees he was the only choice to end Taker's streak at WrestleMania, and he's right. He thanked Dwayne, The Rock, for teaching him to be selfish in WWE. He said the infamous flip-off at WrestleMania was not for the fans, but directed to Vince McMahon. I cannot think of another talent that considers himself one that clocks in and clocks out, almost there just to cash a paycheck. The WWE was never a dream or a destination for Brock Lesnar, just a place to get paid. Brock Lesnar is an amazing talent, perhaps one of the most dominant stars of any era. I can only imagine how good he could have been, or could be, if he had a true passion or hunger to be a WWE superstar. And with that, David Hero has spoken.
Thank you, David Hero. This week's DWHS. Mondays around Dallas was unique indeed. But David, it's time. You told me before we went on air that you had made your mind up. You had made your decision as to what would happen at Blizzard Brawl 11 on December 5th in Waukesha at the Expo Center. As you know, Abyss has challenged you to a Monsters Ball match. And in that Monsters Ball match, anything goes. There's no disqualifications, no countouts, and I don't even know, can you submit, or is that the only way to win?
I haven't. It's a no DQ match.
Janice will be there. The kitchen sink will be there.
No
Everything is up for grabs in this matchup, including, according to the challenge by Abyss, Great Lakes Championship Wrestling itself, and quite frankly, you having to leave the wrestling business if you lose that Monsters Ball match to Abyss at Blizzard Brawl on December 5th. David Hero, what is your decision?
It's taken me the last month and a half to think about what I wanted to do. And I had to think about all the different things that have happened since last year, Blizzard Brawl.
Yep,
Tommy
Blizzard
Dreamer,
Brawl 10.
Abyss, and you getting involved.
I did help Tommy Dreamer defeat Abyss.
You did, and then Abyss gets mad at you, but then somehow he twisted it around like it's my fault that I need to fire you from this show, which I don't own, right? Mm-hmm. So I can't get rid of you there. And he shows up and he puts his hands on you. He threatens me. Puts his hands on my kid. Yells at him.
Which was uncalled for.
At the time he was 12 years old, and it just doesn't end. And then the videos keep coming, and he wants to fight, and we can't have a wrestling match. I'm not a wrestler. I can fight. I've never been in a Monsters Ball match. I mean, it's tables and ladders and chairs and garbage cans and weapons and you said Janice, whatever else. And then he's like, and I accepted it. I said, yeah, we'll have this. And then he's like, well, no, if we're going to do it, you need to put your stake up in Great Lakes Championship Wrestling. Been doing this for 19 years, okay? And I've been on this show for 7, I think. 7, maybe?
It was like 70,
7 years. What he did to you is terrible. What he did, back and forth, and to Al, he put his hands on my kid.
That he did.
And I'm willing to risk anything and everything to get my licks in on him. And if that means that if I...
What you did, you struck him with a chair just 2 months ago.
But that wasn't good enough. I mean, he put his hands and screamed in Cal's face, okay? And you're not a dad, and we'll never understand this, but you do everything we can to protect our kids. And everyone knows Cal is my number one. It's beginning to end. It starts and ends with him. And I spoke about it with Al, and I called up Nash, and I even called Billy Gunn at NXT, and I said, hey, you guys have all been in the ring with him. What do you think? And they all says, I'm crazy to consider it, but they said they'd help me with it. So...
What's your decision, David Hero? Will you face Abyss in a Monsters Ball match at Blizzard Brawl 11 with GLCW on the line? You're accepting the challenge.
I am going to do this. I am going to accept the open challenge with Abyss. We will have a Monsters Ball match, and I will do everything I possibly can to beat his ass. Because once that's done, he's gone.
How are you going to get ready for this matchup? How are you going to prepare? You haven't been in the wrestling ring in 9 years, David Hero.
Yes.
How are you going to prepare to take on Abyss in his match, a Monsters Ball match, December 5th at Blizzard Brawl in Waukesha?
A couple weeks ago, Al and I met up, secret location.
Al Snow?
Al Snow. And we did some training.
Is that right?
And I have some tape. So roll it.
Hey, get your head up. Okay, do it again. Do what I showed you. There you go. Beautiful, beautiful. Slam him. Clothesline him. Follow it up. There you go. Good job. Good job. Way to go. Good job.
It's a Monsters Ball.
I know what it is.
We're not wrestling. It's not going to be hip tosses and arm drags.
You need to know.
No, I know, but it's tables and chairs. And it's a fight. This guy put his hands on my son and wants to take away my company.
I know. I understand.
You said you'd teach me to fight.
Yes, I did.
We need to fight. We need bigger guys.
No, we don't need bigger guys. You want to learn to fight?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you sure?
Everything's on this.
Okay. I didn't want to do this, but
you gonna show me?
I have an idea, so come with me.
All right.
You want to? Let's go.
This is a frickin' prison.
Yeah. You said you wanted to learn to fight, right?
That's insane.
No better place to learn to fight than in a prison. Not to mention, it's shower day. Let's go. Come on. You're gonna learn to fight. Oh my. Are you gonna work Come on.
Watched on YouTube over 14 million times. Listened online over 3 million times. On the air for nearly 20 years. The most respected name in pro wrestling talk. The Pro Wrestling Report evolves again. Introducing the PWR Now Network. Get all the content from PWR in one place, on demand and on your devices. Watch and listen to PrimeTime, Feedback Friday, Be the Booker, and the return of the DD podcast. Also get the episodes of PWR Reaction after Raw and NXT. But it doesn't stop there. PWR is bringing you 2 huge new podcasts that can only be found on the PWR Now Network. For over 40 years, he's been the most recognized voice in the history of pro wrestling and the man with the stories that are too hot for TV. And now he's bringing that signature voice to the podcast world, along with some of the biggest names in the business. Welcome to the Hotline with Mean Gene Okerlund, debuting on the PWR Now Network in November. He is a former champion in WWE, ECW, and is currently one of the head agents for Impact Wrestling. Wait a minute. Did someone say head?
Does everybody want?
Welcome to Head with Al Snow, debuting on the PWR Now Network in November as well. All of this and more exclusively on the PWR Now Network. Subscribe now on iTunes, Google Play, and PWRshow.com. It's totally 100% free to subscribe. Welcome to the all-new PWR Now Network.
Welcome to the PWR Event Center, brought to you by Milwaukee. Ring of Honor Wrestling returns to Milwaukee with a huge show at Turner Hall on November 13th. Get all the details right now at papstheater.org. GLCW Blizzard Brawl 11 is on Saturday, December 5th at the Waukesha County Expo Center. And it's official. One of the main events at Blizzard Brawl will be David Hero taking on the Monster Abyss in a Monsters Ball match. If David loses the match, he must leave the wrestling business. It's all on the line and the stakes could not be higher at Blizzard Brawl. And that's not all. WWE Hall of Famer Booker T has signed to appear at Blizzard Brawl in Waukesha. This will be the first time ever for the 5-time world champion, and Booker will also be inducted into the PWR Hall of Fame that same night. Also, former WWE star Chyna will be making a special appearance at Blizzard Brawl, along with several other huge matches featuring Scotty 2 Hotty, Zach Owen, and Armando Estrada. Get your tickets, which start at only $10 right now at blizzardbrawl.com. That's it for this week's event center, brought to you by Turner Hall. The PWR Fantasy Draft continues tomorrow at Hell in a Cell, but points were scored last month at Night of Champions. The Superfriends further ended the streak of the Nelson family by scoring 370 to the 175 points scored by the family. In the running total, the Superfriends stays in the lead with 1,955 points to the 1,675 points of the Nelson family. We will see what tomorrow's Hell in a Cell brings for both teams. Can the Nelson family come back from a nearly 300-point deficit? Speaking of Hell in a Cell, Be the Booker is coming up next on Primetime.
GLCW Blizzard Brawl invades the Waukesha County Expo Center on Saturday, December 5th. See the biggest stars in pro wrestling live and in person. Al Snow defends the GLCW Championship, and David Hero takes on TNA star Abyss in a Monsters Ball match. Also appearing live are WWE Hall of Famer Booker T and the 9th Wonder of the World, Chyna. Blizzard Brawl 11, live at the Waukesha Expo Center on December 5th. Tickets are available now, starting at only $10 each at blizzardbrawl.com.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, the insurance company may try to stop you from getting what's fair.
After my car wreck, the insurance company just wasn't helping me, so I said stop, and I called Gruber Law Offices.
Be careful. Call us right away.
They better be careful. Now I've got Gruber Law Offices.
Call us. Let us get started on your case right now.
They put the green light on my case and got me $65,000.
Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all. Call 276-6666.
Indeed, it is time for Be the Booker, ladies and gentlemen.
Pump the brakes.
I didn't even
Bro,
invite him.
Cephas. Once again, the Super Friends are in the lead.
Yeah, temporarily.
Huge margin of
So
victory.
what about the first 6 months when I was in the lead?
I'm not talking about you.
I'm sure
We're
not.
talking about
Here's
the
what
Super
happens.
Friends.
If you look back in the history of the draft, the annals of time, if you will, you've seen that I have initially won. You have taken a lead for a brief period of time, and then ultimately, when it matters at the end in the scoring
You've
at WrestleMania
cheated.
32 in Dallas,
Whoa.
I will win again.
Hold on a second.
Again.
Heath Slater screwed me the first time.
He did?
Okay? I mean, there's been so many injuries, but this
And then
is
Meathead won
the greatest collection of sports entertainers in the
Can you
history.
even name who's on your team?
Of course
That's how
I
great the
can.
collection is? Who? From the sport?
Roman Reigns. Dean Ambrose.
Folks, in this segment, what we do is we fantasy book tomorrow's Hell in a Cell special event. It's on the WWE Network. And now let's look at it match by match, David, if you will. Firstly, for the Tag Team Championships of the World, it will be the New Day defending against the Dudley Boys.
And the New Day is my favorite thing about anything WWE right now.
Your favorite?
New Day rocks. They are the greatest thing going, and they are. And they got a huge match.
If you discount Dolph Ziggler
with the Dudleys.
Cody Rhodes.
New Day gets a better reaction than anybody else on the roster, minus, let's say, a Taker or a John Cena.
Are you watching in SAP mode again?
No, because El Matadors were not on. I was watching New Day.
Oops, sorry.
But New Day and Dudleys.
Do this board.
It was Linda. When she was spinning, like stuff was flying off of her. So, New Day, Dudleys. New Day needs to win. Because whenever they cheat to win, Dudleys always get their heat back, always put them through a table. You know, and the Dudleys, one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Yes, indeed.
And right now, what they need to do, that was a high spot. What they need to do is they need to help build New Day into a more stronger, credible team. That being said, I firmly believe that the Dudley Boys will defeat New Day to become the WWE Tag Team Champions.
You going to indicate that on the board here?
I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to go with the Dudleys, even though I really want to see New Day get the victory. But if they're going to prolong this feud a little bit longer, Dudleys need to get something out of this.
Usually circle the winner.
I underline, because that's more permanent.
Divas Championship on the line. Charlotte defending against Nikki Bella.
Interesting match, because now you have Paige like the lone wolf. And you got to believe Paige will get involved in this somehow. I don't know if Charlotte as the Divas Champion has been exactly what they were hoping for out of her. The Bellas, you know, knock them all you want. They've been pretty standard, pretty solid. You got to believe that, you know, Nikki Bella and Charlotte will have a great match too, you know, good athletes. But if you do the reset and put it back on Nikki, it only sends everything backwards. That's why I like Charlotte to remain the Divas Champion coming out of Hell in a Cell.
I can go with that. And also, ladies and gentlemen, the Intercontinental Championship will be on the line as Kevin Owens defends again against Ryback, the former champion.
And I like this match. It's two big dudes punching and kicking, power moves, whatever else. And Kevin Owens had a huge victory Monday night against Mark Henry.
Yes, he did.
Pop up, power bombed Mark Henry.
But Mark Henry has been fed to the wolves for the last several weeks
but
on
still,
programming.
but how many times have you seen, with the exception of a Sheamus or a John Cena, where Mark Henry takes a finish like that?
I saw it with the Big Show a couple of weeks ago.
It's a knockout punch. He got up for the pop-up powerbomb. Okay. Kevin Owens.
Again?
They're going to run with him. Absolutely.
All right. Well, this one is a bit difficult to book because we don't know the challenger. It is an open challenge for the United States Championship. John Cena versus an artist, a wrestler to be named.
And here's why we don't know. Simply because the opening free match, I guess if you want to call it that, is a six-man.
Yes.
Okay.
Involving Randy Orton, by the way. Well, it was.
Well, no, it's Dolph Ziggler, it's Neville, and they got Sheamus, Rusev, and Barrett on the other side, Wade Barrett. So all those guys are potential guys to be the TBA. But who is it? Stardust? Does he come back? Does he do it? I mean,
it's got to be somebody credible, but it's also potentially going to be somebody who's going to win because, as we talked about earlier, John Cena, MIA for the next.
I mean, does that mean it's an NXT guy? Is it a Samoa Joe? Is it a Baron Corbin that they bring up?
Is it a Finn Balor?
No, not yet. No, it needs someone to be a little bit more of a badass kind of guy. And, you know, part of me would love to see Rusev, Wade Barrett, or Sheamus. I think as much as Sheamus gets knocked and discredited for not being a star. I think Sheamus is the guy that can beat John Cena right now.
Sheamus has beat
and
John
become the U.S. champion. So it's kind of hard to book that match, but we know one thing for sure. Whoever it is, this here is going to be well, because I'm not sure. Underlining is I'm pretty positive. I don't know who's going to be in that match.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the first of 2 Hell in a Cell matchups. This one will pit Bray Wyatt up against Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, who got the Ric Flair endorsement this past
He
Monday
did.
night.
Well, he's gotten that for quite a while. And Roman Reigns has done everything that has been asked of him since WrestleMania.
He has.
He has.
He's done recent interviews where he's talked about his frustrations with the fact that it's not him, but it's the machine that people disagree with.
Roman Reigns is a stud. And you know what? You may not like him. You may think his mic skills aren't very good. But there's been other great stars that have had bad mic skills.
Yep.
Brock Lesnar, not very good.
By his own admission, I'm not a good at promos.
Jeff Hardy, one of the greatest stars of all time, not very good on the mic. Ultimate Warrior was terrible. Okay?
Well, he had some epic promos.
Well, yeah, because they were so goofy. But I mean, Roman Reigns, his time starts now. The reboot of Roman Reigns happens at Hell in a Cell. Roman Reigns will defeat Bray Wyatt. He needs to get on a streak because Survivor Series is coming up next month. Then we go into WrestleMania season in January with the Royal Rumble.
Has Bray Wyatt lost relevancy?
Not at all. Bray Wyatt has built an army around himself.
How does that army play a part in this matchup?
Here's the thing.
What's the thing?
What's funny is everyone keeps saying how that the Hell in a Cell is to keep people in and keep people out.
Yes.
We've been at pay-per-views when the Wyatts have gotten into Hell in a Cells, where they've gotten into elimination chambers. So you got to figure some of that kabuki-ish stuff is going to happen again.
But Reigns has got a friend in Ambrose,
but
he's not on the show.
But he's going to, of course, he's going to be there. You know he's going to be there.
I need the points. Well, you need the points.
I got the lead. But so you got to figure that the Roman Reigns reboot starts Sunday with a victory over Bray Wyatt. He has to beat Bray Wyatt in a cage.
The WWE World Heavyweight Championship will be on the line as Seth Rollins takes on the Demon Kane.
Interesting match, because if the Demon Kane loses, that means Corporate Kane gets fired.
He's already suspended as Corporate Kane, right?
But Seth Rollins and the Demon Kane. Can you imagine this match would have happened in 1997, 98, 99?
It would have been.
It would be a no-brainer that
here.
Demon Kane. No, yeah, because it'd probably be for the European Championship. Because there's no way Seth Rollins will be world champion right now.
It's very true.
Okay?
Who takes it?
Seth Rollins needs to win this match.
That you cringed when you said that.
Yeah, because they need to build Seth Rollins as a credible guy that can beat people, and he hasn't done that yet.
And in the fans' eyes, if he can't
because
beat
think
Kane,
about it, he hasn't beaten Brock Lesnar. Okay,
right. He also hasn't lost to Brock Lesnar.
He didn't beat Brock Lesnar at Mania. He beat Roman Reigns. Okay, he beat John Cena with the help of Jon Stewart. When he had his match with Brock Lesnar, Taker got involved.
That is true.
Okay, the only match he's really won was against Dean Ambrose, and that could have gone either way in that big TLC match.
I think we're waiting for an underline under Seth Rollins here, ladies
Yes,
and gentlemen.
underline.
It's the final matchup of the night.
It's the final.
Hell in a Cell match, 2 of 2, folks. As Brock Lesnar takes on The Undertaker for the last time, they say. This, the third match in their most recent series of matchups. SummerSlam, Kabuki.
And honestly,
WrestleMania, the streak was over.
I hate to use a 4-letter word. I hate this match. I hate it at Hell in a Cell.
Okay.
Because
we saw it in 2002?
No, it's because it doesn't belong on Hell in a Cell. If this is the final match of these two.
The final.
Yeah, the final. It needs to be at WrestleMania. Not at Hell in a Cell.
Isn't Hell in a Cell built to end feuds?
Yes, but WrestleMania is the exclamation point.
Let's not put a cap on that marker yet.
Well, I did. But Lesnar, Taker, Lesnar, the streak was a clean loss. Okay? Taker lost clean. Taker gets the revenge by low-blowing Brock Lesnar, which Taker's never done before. Now it's the rubber match. And who do you go with? Both guys are part-time players. I don't think that the podcast they did with Austin did him any favors. But Brock Lesnar, I don't know. So with that being said, I almost think it's going to be a no decision somehow.
They can't do that.
I think they can.
Not on TV.
There's no way. You just can't. If I
Cop-out.
No, it's not. They've done stuff like that before.
Well, for you, that's a cop-out.
Well, then if I have to pick somebody, I'm going to go with the younger, hungrier Brock Lesnar. But here's the problem I have. Here's the problem I have. I watched the promos, okay? I thought Brock Lesnar was the babyface. When I saw the Paul Heyman promo with Brock Lesnar, it's like they're the heels and now Taker's the babyface. Who are we supposed to cheer for? Who's supposed to boo? The lines are so crossed. This match is a mess.
And it'll be an interesting match tomorrow night at Hell in a Cell, ladies and gentlemen. We here at the Pro Wrestling Report will be back with you Monday night, PWR Reaction on PWR Now Network, and also Wednesday night, NXT Reaction on the PWR Now Network. And then Friday, it's another edition of Feedback Friday. It's a Halloween edition of Feedback Friday.
Really?
Linda, she inspired me.
She inspired a lot of people.
For that one, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.